KWT slaying.
What if the truth was never lost, only buried? For centuries, historians, scholars, and even colonial records have confirmed what many tried to silence. The original Israelites were a black people scattered across continents but never erased. Their skin was dark, their customs ancient, and their covenant with Yah eternal. This journey uncovers how the Spanish and Portuguese Jews, described as dark-skinned, Semitic, shared one bloodline. Chased by the Inquisition, many fled to Portugal, then beyond, preserving their heritage across borders. But the story doesn't end in Iberia. Across from West Africa, black Jews built synagogues, kept Torah, and passed down the laws of Moses. The Limba in southern Africa, the Igbo in Nigeria, the Beta Israel in Ethiopia, tribes across the continent boldly declared, "We are the children of Israel." These aren't isolated claims. These are voices rising from the dust, connected by oral histories, Torah traditions, and the unbroken rhythm of their identity. No such legacy exists among European Jews. No centuries of tribal witness, no matching traditions, no trace of ancient covenant keeping. Maps, art, and archaeology tell the same story. The Israelites were scattered, enslaved, and displaced, but never lost. The world always knew who they were. Their presence was visible, their customs alive, their story intact. This book doesn't speculate. It confirms the Israelites were black, bound by blood, culture, and covenant to the Most High. This is not just history, it's restoration. The truth was never destroyed, only buried beneath centuries of deception. Get your copy of They Always Knew We Were Israelites today, available now on Amazon.com.
Shalom, my family. Shalom, how y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. Today we have again with us Brother Fast Nickel. Brother Fast Nickel, say hi to the fam.
Shalom, family.
So, Brother Fast Nickel have a financial presentation, and we're going to talk about other things as we go along as well. Anything you want to share, Brother Fast Nickel?
No, other than this is going to be a little different. It's not going to be so much about crypto, but it's going to be more about financial education, because Brother Yakoba, myself, and Sister Ashana were talking earlier in the week, and we just found that financial education is important. So hopefully this presentation will help in that regards.
All right. So you can take it away, Brother Fast Nickel.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is a presentation I gave to my members 3 weeks ago, but then, like I said, based on the earlier conversation we had during the week, I am bringing it back, but I've added some stuff at the end. So it's going to be more about financial educations. The discussion points that I'm going to talk about are commodities and dividends, traditional finance, the old system, cash management and T-bills, cash flow, and the Clarity Act / DeFi. And I want everybody to remember, we're shifting from an account-based system to a wallet-based system. So please keep that in mind. What are commodities? Commodities are real physical items that the real world needs, like silver, gold, oil, natural gas, rice, coin. These are the raw materials that power all our needs. So when we look at gold and silver, that is considered God's money. Oil, it powers transportation and industry. Copper, the power grids, wiring, and electronics. If you have any copper pennies from 1982 and earlier are made from 95% copper. So you probably don't want to get rid of those because they're more valuable than the face value of the penny itself. If you sort coins that weigh 1982 pennies, copper ones weigh about 3.11 grams and the zinc ones weigh about 2.5. And just as a remembrance, this is not financial advice. This is for educational purposes only. Uranium. Uranium powers nuclear energy. Commodities matter. They're not just investment, but building blocks to real everyday life. So we have oil and refined fuels. You use them every day. Gasoline moves your car. Diesel moves trucks, delivers food, plastic from petroleum, paper and packaging, medical tools and phones. Over 90% of global transport relies on oil-based fuels. You have wheat and corn. You eat them directly or indirectly. Bread, pasta, cereal, and animal feed depend on them. Livestock raised on grain supplies, meat, eggs, and dairy. Food prices spike, often track grain shortages. And then copper again. Your home depends on it for electrical wiring. It uses copper for conductivity and safety. They're now all rising together, and we definitely saw that about 3 weeks ago. So why it matters when you see gold, silver, and commodities rise together, because most of the time they don't. Gold tends to move when people are worried. Oil tends to move when the economy is active, and industrial metals tend to move when building and manufacturing increases. Historically, this exact alignment has shown up when people have lost confidence in money, the government, or the financial system. And right now, it's all of the above. So when supply runs tight, they become an important resource. So let's look at the first liquidity event. History doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. And so what that means is that history tends to show up again, but not in the exact same way. So before 2008, gold started to rise quietly. People didn't care because the stock market was on fire. But when the system was loaded with debt, that's when it changed. So when we had the 2008 crisis hit, everything crashed in short time, including gold. This confused some. So people were forced to sell anything possible, even if it was a good asset like gold, because they needed cash. Now we have a global market. So after the panic, gold and silver started to climb again. So in 2010 and 11, if you had cash, you were able to buy homes at pennies on the dollar. And I saw this for myself in Miami. A lot of people who lived in Brazil were coming to Miami and taking their money because the money in Brazil was starting to go down in value. So they were taking their money and coming to Miami and buying homes because the market was at perfect time. And like I said, if you had cash, it was the perfect time. Now in 2020, we had a similar panic. Everybody knows what happened in 2020. So gold and commodities dipped sharply for a few weeks until the government started printing money to stabilize the entire system. Commodities surged again, repeating rhythm that happens. We had stress on bills, real assets rise, corrections happen, long-term trends continued. So what's different now is that This time, the central banks and large institutions are hoarding commodities, especially gold. They're buying and holding long term, not buying and flipping. When the central banks buy gold, they don't do it for the short term profits. They want real assets to back their stability. So when institutions hoard, it reduces the supply to everyone else. So the 2026 game plan. Again, the central banks are hoarding gold and institutions are hoarding cryptocurrency. Now, China, they cut off the supply of silver exports, and this is why it's hard to buy physical metals online. This doesn't just stop corrections from happening, but it does change the outlook and creates a stronger flaw. Now, with this chart here, this is from 2025, and if you look on the left-hand side, the UAE, Cyprus, Portugal, Panama, and a lot of the Caribbean, there is no tax on your crypto. But countries like America will charge you 20%, Denmark as high as 50%. A lot of the European countries charge high taxes on your crypto, whereas a lot of the other countries, especially the Caribbean, there is no tax. Now, what these central banks are doing, they're printing money, but they're not printing money necessarily to help the people. They're taking that money and buying assets like gold and silver that have value. So from this point on, I feel as though it's important to take notes, or at least if you come back and watch the replay, from this point on is where you're going to find your information that you're going to take notes on. So if we're talking about physical metals, gold, silver, uranium, copper, the question is, if we're seeing the price go up, and we saw it come down a little, but it's going to go back up. So if you're having a hard time to buy, the question is, well, how can I buy these things if they're making it hard to? So the way to do it is through stocks. So the breakdown is this. The breakdown is in a percentage. So this way, whether you have $500, $1,000, or $10,000, if you just wanted to invest in these type of stocks, you can break it down into these percentages. So the first one is royalty and streaming companies. You can take 22% of your money and invest. Now, I'm just going to show a few, but there are more out there than this. So the first three are Franco-Nevada Corporation, Wheaton Precious Metals, and Royal Gold. So Franco-Nevada Corporation, ticker symbol FNV. Right now, the current price of this stock is $255 a share. And if you'll notice that year to date, it's in the positive. The next one, Wheaton Precious Metals Corp, ticker symbol WPM. Current price of $149 a share. Year to date, it's in the positive. Royal Gold Incorporated, ticker symbol RGLD. Current price $285, and it is also in the positive year to date. Now, when you look at the gold producers, you have Newmont Corporation, Barrick Mining Corporation, and Agnico Eagle Mines. Newmont Corporation, ticker symbol NEM. Current price of $123.78. Positive year to date. Now, these stocks are the ones that you would buy if you were not buying physical metals. Barrick Mining Corporation, ticker symbol B. Current price of $47. Positive year to date. Agnico Eagle Mines, ticker symbol AEM. Price $214. And these prices that I'm showing you are of yesterday, because initially I had them from 3 weeks ago, and the prices are up since I did this 3 weeks ago. Now for silver, if you wanted to invest in silver, you would invest 7%, because silver is more volatile and could move faster than gold, but can also correct harder than gold. So the two here are Pan American Silver Corp and Hecla Mining. So Pan American Silver Corp, ticker symbol PAAS. Current price of $58.60 is up year to date. Hecla Mining Company, ticker symbol HL. Current price of $22.77, positive year to date. Then we have energy. Energy is 20%. It's the foundation of the commodity world, often generates strong cash flows, and it helps stabilize your portfolio. For here, I have ExxonMobil, Chevron Corporation, ConocoPhillips, Occidental Petroleum, and Schlumberger. ExxonMobil is ticker symbol XOM. Current price of $156.98, positive year to date. Chevron Corporation, CVX, $185, ticker symbol CVX, positive year to date. ConocoPhillips, ticker symbol COP. Current price $111.50, positive year to date. Occidental Petroleum, ticker symbol OXY, $46.76, positive year to date. And then Schlumberger, ticker symbol SLB, $51.84, positive year to date. When we're looking at copper and in the industrial metals, you want to invest maybe 10% of your money. It's one of the most important metals for the modern world in electronics and data centers. So the two we're going to look at are Southern Copper Corp and Freeport McMoran Incorporated. So Southern Copper Corp, ticker symbol SCCO, current price of $206.03, positive year to date. Freeport McMoran Incorporated, ticker symbol FCX, $64.23, positive year to date. And then we have uranium. You want to invest maybe 8%. It supports nuclear power. Nuclear is coming back because of AI and data centers. They need reliable power, not just for solar and wind, but for real base load power. It's better used as a small long-term hold. So the two we're going to look at are Next Gen Energy and Cameco Corp. Next Gen Energy is ticker symbol NXE. Current price of $11.75, positive year to date. Cameco, ticker symbol CCJ. Current price $118.23, positive year to date. And then you want infrastructure, 10% going into there. You don't rely on the price of oil. They make money by moving and storing energy. So the two we're going to look at here are Kinder Morgan and Enbridge. Kinder Morgan, ticker symbol KMI. Current price of $31.81, positive year to date. Enbridge, ticker symbol ENB. Current price $51.83, positive year to date. So the one thing that was common is you can see that for all of them, it was a positive return year to date. So if you would have invested in January, your portfolio would be up based on the numbers I just showed you. So what I'm showing you here are dividends. So not all stocks give you dividends. So think of dividends like staking with crypto. So what that means is if you own the ones that I have listed here in red, they are also giving you dividends. So dividends are paid out either monthly, quarterly, or yearly. So if you own the stock, you're making money as the stock goes up or down, but you're also getting dividends. And so what a lot of people will do is take those additional dividends that they earn and reinvest it back into the stock. So that's what's called compound interest. And the last item is cash. You always want to have about 10% on the side for cash because cash is key. Now, we have physical metals. They are insurance, they protect you from the system, and they don't grow like companies do, not the easiest to offload. So as an example, last week we were talking to a young lady on the continent, and she was explaining how she had a lot of silver and some gold when she was leaving the US to go to the continent, but they stopped her at the airport. They wouldn't let her take her silver and gold. I don't know how much was in question, but she wound up having to leave a lot of it because they wouldn't let her take it. So if you have physical metals, you can convert it into jewelry. Once you convert it into jewelry, they won't stop you. Or you may have to sell it, but just keep that in mind. If you have physical silver or gold and you're ready to leave to go to the continent, you may get stopped at the airport. So this is another reason why you may say, okay, I want to take some of my money and I want some metals, but maybe I only have a few metals. But if your goal is to go to the continent, then the stock may be the option for you. So corrections happen, it's part of the journey. Remember, this is done to shake people out, and also because nothing goes up forever, you have your ups and your downs. Commodity corrections happen when the leverage is too high, too much borrowing money to chase gains. When the prices drop, it forces many to sell. Liquidity events happen, people need cash quickly, and so they sell even good assets. The paper markets typically push price down futures and contracts. This is not the physical. I think most everyone here has heard of the Dodd-Frank Act. So the Dodd-Frank Act was passed in 2010 by President Obama after the 2008 crisis. And it was put in place to protect us. But if you look on the right-hand side, the truth of the matter is that it was really put in place to help the banks, not us. So bank deposits are technically liabilities. When you deposit your money, the bank owes it. And this is why I've always said you don't really want to keep your crypto on exchanges unless you're keeping it there short term because you're doing some trading, some flipping, but you don't want to keep it long term because technically speaking, it is not yours. If a bank fails, it must cover its debts. So large creditors or secured lenders often have priority over depositors for repayment. Yes, there's FDI insurance in the US. Deposits under $250,000 per account are insured and $500,000 per couple. So most individuals are protected, but amounts above that can be at risk. We had bail-ins, not bailouts. In some cases, regulators can force banks to use deposit to stabilize themselves. This is more common outside the US, but the concept exists. So crypto versus bank, unlike banks, your crypto is usually held in your wallet or a custodial account. If the exchange fails, there's no insurance and your funds can be lost. Now, Uphold does have a pretty good insurance policy. They have actually a better one than Coinbase does. And the bottom line is that banks can use your money. When you leave your money in the bank, they are using your money at nights. So if the bank collapses, unsecured deposit might be at risk above secured limits. Your money is generally safe if it's below the FDIC insurance, but large depositors or institution funds can lose first in a crisis. You want to remember that you need the proper structure to survive the corrections. So it's a good idea. I've always mentioned to diversify. So you might want to have some of the stocks that I mentioned, have a little bit of cash, have some crypto, have some physical metals, and also have some foreign currencies. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that because Brother Yacoba was asking me about why. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. But remember, don't panic, have a plan, and stay structured, and try to make better decisions. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is WISE and foreign currencies. Now, I know, Brother Yacoba, we've talked in the past, we both have some foreign currencies, but if you don't have foreign currencies, it's great to have a WISE account, especially if you're on the continent. Before I talk a little bit about WISE, Brother Yacoba, do you have a comment you want to make?
No, why
Okay.
the WISE account? I still got to get mine because I forgot about it. I mentioned that last time. I still got to get mine, but yeah.
So here's what I'm going to show you about WISE. This is my actual WISE account. One way to be able to purchase foreign currencies is through having a WISE account. Now, this is my own personal WISE account. And when you click on cards, you're able to have a physical card and a digital card. So I personally have a physical and digital. And you can even have one for your team if you have a business. So this is a business account. So the great thing about this is when you go to your homepage, as an example, I have this connected to my bank account. And so right now I have $5 in the account, but you can add different currencies. So I've added the Guyanese, the Japanese yen, the Kenyan shilling, I think that's called. This is Turkey, the Turkish lira, Tanzanian, Vietnamese dong. So right now, Warren Buffett is been investing in the Japanese yen, and from some reports I read, so has the US government. So if I wanted to take some of this money, in this case $5, and move it to the Japanese yen, all I need to do is click on it, hit convert, and now I'm going to click convert $2 of my US dollars. That will give me 307 Japanese yen. And they're gonna charge me a penny for the fee. I'm gonna hit review. I'm taking $2, converting it, hit convert, all done. So now I have 307 Japanese yen in my account, and it reduced my USD from 5 to 3. But now if I happen to go to Japan or to a country that uses the Japanese yen, I can just use my card and withdraw the money straight from here. So this is what's great about having the WISE account if you're traveling abroad. Plus it helps cut down on the fees that they'll charge you in the ATMs.
And so one of the reasons I wanted to have the WISE account is because I want some Chinese yuan, maybe some Ghana CD, stuff like that. Because if the dollar fails, you want to have different options.
Correct. And the great thing is, if you whatever currency you have, when you if it goes up in value, you can now convert it back to the dollar if you want to, and now you just made an increase in your money. So now I put this together because earlier in the week, Brother Yacob was talking about Dave Ramsey, and Dave Ramsey talks about having a plan, and the question is,
he talks about a budget.
Oh, a budget. Okay, a budget. I'm sorry. And the question is that realistic? And so I wanted to show you this. So most of us, I said, we work for the man. So as an example, if you have, let's say you get $1,000 in your paycheck, and what will happen is they'll take out, and don't quote me on the prices, but let's say they take out $300 in tax, and now you've got $600 that you're using to pay your expenses. And so now you've only got $100 left for you to do whatever it is you want. And so that $100 has to last you until your next paycheck. So this is why a lot of people say, man, I don't really have the money to invest. Now, if you work for yourself or self-employed, it's a big difference. So now, if you work for yourself, when someone pays you $1,000, instead of having to pay $300 in tax right away like they do when you work for somebody, you can pay your expenses first. So the $600 in expenses, you pay that right away. So now, instead of getting taxed on $1,000, you're getting taxed on $400. So now, instead of paying $300 in taxes, you're only paying $120 in taxes, leaving you $280 left. That's a big difference from $100. Now, I'm going to talk about this a little more towards the end, but if you're working a regular job, but you're also working, let's say, a side hustle where someone's paying you cash, it's a great way to keep more of that money as opposed to giving it to the government. And now you'll have a little more money to where you can invest. I hope that makes sense. Now, this is a chart that I actually saw yesterday, and I wanted to talk about it because this is something that everybody, if you've never heard of Robert Kiyosaki, he wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And if you look at this chart, most all of us fall on the left-hand side. We are either employees for someone or we're self-employed. Ideally, you want to gravitate to the right side. And so I have a video that's going to explain this a little more.
The cash flow quadrant. Picture a big plus sign, 4 quadrants. In the top left, you've got E for employee. Top right is S for self-employed or small business owner. Bottom left is B for big business owner. And bottom right is I for investor. Most people live in the E quadrant. You trade time for money, you get benefits, you have some security, but you're also limited in how much you can earn because there's only 24 hours in a day. The S quadrant is where a lot of people think they want to be. You're a freelancer, consultant, small business owner. You're your own boss. But here's the catch. You're still trading time for money. If you stop working, the money stops coming. Plus, you probably work more hours than you did as an employee. Now the B quadrant, that's where it gets interesting. This is where you own a system or business that works without you. Think McDonald's, not the local burger joint where the owner flips burgers 12 hours a day. Ray Kroc wasn't in the hamburger business. He was in the real estate and systems business. And finally, the I quadrant. This is where your money works for you. Stocks, bonds, real estate investments, royalties, whatever. You put money to work, and it generates more money. Here's Kiyosaki's key insight. Employees and self-employed people, E and S, work for money and pay the highest taxes. Business owners and investors, B and I, have money work for them and pay the lowest taxes. Now, when I first learned about this, I was definitely stuck in the E quadrant, dreaming about the S quadrant. But this framework made me realize that the real goal isn't just to be self-employed. It's to build systems and investments that generate income without your constant involvement.
Brother Kobe, do you have a question about this or?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So over, I'm pretty old now. When I was young, it was hard to, and I think we talked about this before. It was hard to invest,
Yes.
right? And you had to have an investment broker or whatever in
Correct.
order to invest. And also, we didn't have enough disposable income, most of us, right? So that's another way they kept you out. So now, the other way they keep you out is by changing the rules, right? And there's something we don't know growing up, right? And I'm sure they're going to keep changing the rules because knowledge has increased, right? There's no need to be ignorant since we have the internet. And so now, like, let's say, you become self-employed, right? The rules change. You become a business owner. It's hard to do business outside of your own people. See, this is something we don't understand. And as an investor, you got to have disposable income to invest. And so to me, I think one of the important things just for our community is that, and we've been saying it, as a community forever, is that we have to support each other. Right. And so if you have a business, Black folks have to support that business like any other community, right? Like the Chinese, right? Like the Mexicans, they take care of each other. We don't, right? Just like we've been brainwashed to think we all equal and we're Americans first. No, we're Israelites first, or Black folks first, or Negroes first. So we have to change the way we think and how we work together, because here's the thing: there's going to be obstacles as you move into these areas, self-employment, business owner, investor, and they're going to keep changing the rules and make it harder. But guess what? If you come together, you can overcome the obstacles. So I just wanted to make that comment, basically.
You're 100% right. And this is something that I heard a few years ago. So to your point about supporting our community, I remember hearing a story about a white woman going into a store, and a woman of color asked her, can I help you? And the woman just thought that she was just another employee. But when she found out she actually owned the establishment, she then put all the things she was going to buy back because she didn't want to support the person of color.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've heard that many times.
Yeah. And when you look, I mean, they use, there's a lot of brown people. So, Hispanics and Indians that have businesses. And they really don't necessarily mind about that. It's just really, if you're Black, they just make it hard for you.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, here's the thing. They got one thing in common, well, two things in common. One thing is that they support their own community. Two, they fight against ours.
Yes. Because also, there was a video I sent it to you and Brother Karras. I actually sent it to Sister Shonda. There was a video on racism. I don't know if you saw it, but one of the things that the guy was talking about is Europeans over in Europe, they look at themselves as, hey, I'm German, I'm Irish, I'm this, I'm that. But the minute they come here, they group them all. They kind of brainwash them to group them to say, hey, you're white, and you got and so it's like all pro-white, and everything that's not white, you don't want to associate with. Now, I brought this up. So some of us are not the best at savers, or even because, so for instance, for myself, as a single man at the time, you either will put down one dependent or zero. So if you put down one dependent on your taxes, you tend to really not get back anything when you do your taxes. If you put zero, you'll get a little bit of money, but it's not necessarily that much. So one of the things that I learned is, because I was never the best at saving, I used to use my taxes as a forced savings account. So what I would do is, when I would get my W-4, on line C at the bottom, it asks you if you want to do any extra withholding. So I would always have $25 to $50 in addition taken out of my paychecks. And so at the end of the year, I would always get back between $4,000 and $5,000 in my taxes. Before I started doing this, I was only getting a few hundred. But because I did this to force myself into savings, because I never saw the money, I never spent it. So now at the end of the year, when I do my taxes, at least when I got that larger sum of money, I can even take some of that money, I can invest it, I can go on a vacation, I can do whatever I want. But it was easier for me than just trying to take the few dollars that I had in my weekly paychecks. So if no one knows about this or never did this, this is another way to save money.
So let me add one thing to that. And I agree. I used to do the same thing. A difficulty can be is if you're married, right? And your spouse is not taking out for their taxes, which can affect you, because you're going to end up, it's going to offset your savings, right?
Yeah. So, I know.
So you got to come to one mind on that.
That is true, unless you're filing separate.
Yeah. Who files separate, right?
Right.
I mean, very, very few people.
Yes. To Brother Jacoba's point, but for anyone here, and if you like, this is another way, if you didn't know this, and you can even do it now, because most of us now, your ADP or whatever service your company is using, you can use the app and you can just log in and you can change your withholding. So like I said, this is just another way to have some income. Cash management account. I'm not going to talk about this a lot, but this is another way. It blends your checking, because checking and savings accounts really don't pay you anything. So you can set up what's called a cash management account. It's a little, I don't want to say it's a little trickier, but it's not as simple. So I'm mentioning it, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Now, here's something that I never knew. So most of us have heard the term T-bills or Treasury bills. And this is what they're using now. They're converting these Treasury bills into crypto. But the reason I'm bringing that up here is because I was always under the understanding that countries buy T-bills or Treasury bills. But the truth is, anybody can buy Treasury bills.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. And here's the benefit. So Treasury bills are not high yield, but they're a safe place to park your cash. So as I was mentioning before, you're only protected up to $250,000 or $500,000 as a couple. But if you have your money in T-bills, so if you had $1 million in T-bills, it's 100% protected. Even if the bank crashes, the T-bills are protected because they are protected by the U.S. government. Now, we've been talking about what's coming. So
let me ask you before you go on. T-bills is what China and Japan and all them buy of the U.S., right?
Correct.
Okay. And so a lot of them been selling theirs off. Does that mean they won't get their money if it, you know what I'm saying? Is that why they're scared, or is it like just a political move that they're
I think it's a political move, because the beauty of the T-bills, if you look here, like a lot of people are familiar with CDs, and they'll buy a CD, but a CD a lot of times it'll be 6 months or a year before it matures. Whereas a T-bill, you can do as little as 4 weeks. So you can put money into a T-bill, and the minimum to invest is $100. So you can take $100, invest it in a T-bill, and within 4 weeks, take those profits out. And the beauty of it is, if you live in a state, especially like New York, where they charge you city, state, and federal, T-bills, there is no city and state tax, only federal. So it's an advantage if you live in a state that charges you city and state, or state and federal. Living in Florida, we're only charged federal. But if you live in a state that charges you other taxes, T-bills may be something you look at.
So what's the minimum purchase amount for a T-bill?
$100.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. You teaching me something, boy.
So with the T-bills, you can, if you wanted to buy, you can do it a couple of ways. You can go to treasurydirect.gov, create an account, and buy your T-bills in increments of $100. They are sold in auctions, and you can schedule recurring purchases, or you can buy it through a bank or broker. Most banks online, so you can get it through your Schwab account, Fidelity, or even Robinhood. I checked Robinhood. Now, with Robinhood, it's through ETFs, but you can do it, or just go to your bank and buy a T-bill. You can, a lot of people have Wells Fargo or Chase accounts, so you can buy T-bills at Wells Fargo or Chase. What you do is you open up an investment or brokerage account with the bank. You go to the fixed income or Treasury section. You search for T-bills available in the next auction or on the secondary market. You place your order for the amount you want. So again, the minimum amount is $100, and you can choose a term of 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 13 weeks, 26, or 52 weeks. So you can do, short term as 4 weeks and just keep flipping it. So I mentioned this, like I said, most people are familiar with CDs, and a lot of people have CDs, but you may want to look, if you're a person that likes CDs, you may want to look into T-bills, because you can get a return on your money a lot faster than you do with CDs.
So let me ask you this. So since the T-bills are denominated in US dollars, right?
Yes.
What happens if the value of the dollar continues to go down? What happens to those T-bills? I mean, yeah, go ahead.
So if the price of the dollar goes down, it affects everything, whether you have a CD, it doesn't matter, or if you just have cash, it just is what it is. You don't necessarily see the effect within the country itself. This is why, as an example, let's say you have a foreign currency, and now that foreign currency revalues. And so let's say you have a foreign currency that's worth, it's pennies on the dollar, and all of a sudden it goes to $1. Now, outside the country, and this is why, so you and I have mentioned, as an example, Iraqi dinars, right? So I'll use Iraqi dinar as an example. Iraqi dinars prior to Saddam Hussein were valued at about $3 to a US dollar. They, after the war, they became worthless, and then President Bush II, he went ahead, put in an executive order, and the original new Iraqi dinar notes were printed in Texas. So I don't know how many people know this. I did a lot of research on the dinar, so I know. I used to know a lot. I haven't done a lot of research recently, but regardless. So inside the country, they purposely keep the price down, but once they revalue, now outside the country, they are worth a lot of money. But within the country, you don't necessarily see the value because it's just a matter of inflation within the country. So that's the way foreign currencies work. Inside the country of whatever currency you have, whether it be, let's say, the Ghana CD, is it the Ghana CD?
Yeah, yeah.
So let's say you have Ghana CDs and it, 100, if let's say you had 100,000 Ghana CDs and now they're worth $100,000 US dollars, you're not going to see that value in Ghana itself. You have to go out, you have to take those bills outside the country to see the value. So what we've been talking about here is really the traditional old system. And we know that it's about to reset and go into a new system.
Yeah.
So with the new system, I just want to explain that DeFi is going to be a big part. And so this is why with the Clarity Act, it's had some pushback because the banks don't like it, because what DeFi and the new system does, it allows everybody to be their own bank and to make money on their money. And the banks want to be in control of that, and they want to be the one to determine who makes money and who doesn't. So that's been the biggest issue with the Clarity Act. But we know that because of where we're going spiritually, it's gonna happen. It's just a delay right now, but it's gonna pass. So that's pretty much it. If anyone, as an example, this upcoming Monday for my members, I'm going to have somebody who's going to join us that's going to help us, because it's tax season. They're going to help show my members how they can save money this upcoming tax season, and some of the things some loopholes they can use to really save when they're filing their taxes. So anyone who in the chat, I know that there's probably people in the chat that are part of my membership, and basically the basic membership comes out to literally $2.50 a week, and you always have access to the recordings. Most of my members do the exclusive because it gives them access to so much more. But if anybody's interested or wanted to know, just go to learncrypto101.info and you can sign up at any time. And with that said, I want to thank you, Brother Yakoba. And at this point, I just want to say, if you have questions or if you want to open it up to the panel, by all means.
Yeah. So yeah, if you have questions, please put it in the chat. And I have a question for you, Brother Fast Nickel. So,
Sure.
One of the things I've been trying to figure out is how this shift into the new system, the DeFi system, is going to take place, right? Because we know all of the plumbing has been put in place for it to, come to pass. And I've been looking at what we're seeing today in terms of, the Luciferianism and Satanism that's being exposed in the media, which once again devalues America in the eyes of the rest of the world, right? With the, what's happening to the babies and the young girls and the Epstein files and all this stuff, right? So I see this as a continuation, because we all know that they control the media, they control the banks, they control social media. We don't have to hear about it, but we hear about it every day. So this is part of the agenda, right? So It seems to me that we're about to hit that shift, but I think Americans are going to be left hanging in the dust, right? Because the value of being an American, even like our passport, has less value, right? So I would say with that and the upcoming supposed World War III, I think is going to be a major shift. How do people position themselves? Because we were looking at the traditional currencies, which, I should have known in the past, but now we know it's going to change because, in my opinion, at least, I'm not a financial person, but in my opinion, there isn't going to be a US dollar, and there isn't going to be the traditional financial systems anymore. You're going to have assets, everything going to be tokenized, things like that. How do you position yourself besides just cryptocurrencies, but with the understanding the new economic system?
So one YouTuber that I used to listen to a lot in the past, they always mention diversity as well, because their feeling was, when the transition is happening, you want to have a little bit of crypto, gold, silver, and cash, because you don't necessarily know which one you'll need at a given time. You may need cash today, you may need crypto in a month, and you may need silver a month from then. So by having a little bit of everything, you're just able to dodge and weave through the manipulation.
So, like, if we were to get a WISE account and denominate our dollars into yuan, and assuming that the WISE bank continues to exist, because we don't know what's going to happen with the shift,
Correct.
then that's another way too, right? Is to be in a different currency. Since we see this one, it seems to be targeted for destruction.
Yeah, I've never been a Forex trader, but you can look at a WISE account similar to a Forex trader. People who did Forex trading or who do Forex trading, you're basically, trading against currencies and their values. So you can either, keeping money in the bank is no better than keeping it at home. Matter of fact, I think it's better to keep it at home, because at least you have access. And when you hear that term, possession is 9/10 of the law, at least if you have it at home, because they're not giving you anything for it. So I tend to personally have enough to pay my bills, and then the rest I'll put it into crypto, because I can always access it at any time. And now with a lot of the crypto cards that are coming out, you can spend them no different than you do your bank ATM. And because we're all looking to go to the continent, the WISE account is something that I think everybody should have, because it does allow you to flip on a dime from currency to currency. Like, if you saw it, I mean, this was a recording, but I did that in real time. I took $2 in US dollars and converted it to the Japanese yen in less than a minute.
Yeah, because what I want to do is diversify into like some African currencies, because the new system going to be asset based, right? And who has more assets than the African countries, right? It's going to shift. The whole thing going to shift. But we have a question here. Could you explain the fear and greed indicator?
Sure. So let me take a look at what the fear and greed is at currently. So let's see. Fear and greed is, wow, it's at 8. Okay. So the biggest question that everybody always asks is, when should I buy and when should I sell? So people always tend to do the opposite. When the markets are going sky high, that's when they want to buy. But that's actually when you should be selling. And when there's fear and blood in the streets, that's when everybody wants to sell. But that's actually when you want to buy, because that's when it's at its lowest value. So I personally don't like day trading, because it's so hard to day trade unless you're using a bot or unless you have a system. So if you can buy, if you have the cash now, this is the most opportune time to buy, because you look, XRP is at $100.39. You know, when you look at some of these prices, these are like really awesome prices. So if you buy at the low end of Fear and Greed, so with my members, I tell them that 20 and lower is a great buying opportunity. 20 to 30 is okay too. Anywhere from 30 to 60, those are the times where you might want to just have money to where you dollar cost average in a crypto that you like. So what I also like to recommend is by using the Fear and Greed. So having a plan, having a spreadsheet to where you said, okay, I bought XRP when Fear and Greed was 8. It was $1.39. When Fear and Greed, let's say it's at 35. I'm not looking to sell, but because you knew you bought it at 8 and now it's at 35, most likely that XRP is no longer $1.39. Let's say it's $1.70. And at least now, if you have everything in a spreadsheet, you can see exactly how much profit you have made, as opposed to saying, okay, I'm up $1,000 on all my crypto. But the truth is, you may only be up in 2 of your cryptos, not all of your crypto. And so now you're saying to yourself, okay, I'm up $1,000, but now you're really selling cryptos that you're in the negative or in the red on, because you didn't really have it in a spreadsheet to know what your value. So having a spreadsheet, and I've given it to my members, they have this, and using Fear and Greed, it helps to give you an idea of a great opportunity to buy and sell.
Okay, here's another question. Is holding 50 ounces of silver and gold a good move, or do you say holding more crypto than physical silver and gold is better?
So the answer to that question is, I actually have 50 ounces of silver. I don't have any gold, and I haven't bought silver since 2019. I bought all my silver between 2014 and 2019. I have 50 ounces. Now, for me, because they're talking about silver, maybe by the end of the year hitting anywhere from $300 to $1,000, I personally want to see if it hits 300, and maybe I might take 10 ounces and sell it and take that money and buy some crypto. I am a fan of silver and gold, but the problem is, once you start talking about these larger amounts, it's hard to transport, and they're going to give you a hard time of moving it out the country. So if you're looking to leave this country, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't own silver and gold, but also have a plan knowing that the US is not where you plan on living out your life.
Yeah, and to me, it'd probably be hard to get out of the country with silver and gold. So, that's why, my whole plan is, the metal is basically for emergency. That's how I have it, right? In America. And if I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna convert it to crypto or something like that. Because good luck trying to get that past TSA and all that stuff from somebody stealing your stuff.
Correct.
So here's another one. Want to know how to take profits from cryptocurrency without selling my crypto, if that's possible.
So this is where, through DeFi, for the month of January with my members, we were talking about DeFi, and especially with XRP and Flare. So with Flare has made a breakthrough, and now they're going to be working with Bitcoin and some of the other cryptos that you can't stake. And through Flare, they're going to allow you to take your crypto and convert it. And so now you can use your converted crypto without selling your actual crypto. I know that doesn't necessarily make sense, but that is what they're doing with DeFi.
So what are they going to do to make crypto less complex, or will it always be that way? Because I mean, stocks are complex, right? ETFs are complex. So is it always just going to be this complex? Because to me, crypto is just too many arms, right? Too many, just keep a track of everything is a task.
I think personally, because their goal is to get everyone in their net, because yes, so as an example, Brother Yacoba, we're looking at crypto as a short-term means to an end, but they're looking at it as part of a bigger system that they're rolling out. And so for them, because they want to get everybody in, they're going to make it as easy as possible. They're going to roll out these wallets. You're not going to need to worry about these receiving address. They're going to basically, if someone wanted to send me some crypto, all they need is my email address. You're not going to need to know what receiving address. They're just going to make it easy because they want to suck everybody in.
So it's going to be like Zelle payments, huh?
Yeah. This is why I've said everybody needs to understand wallets and have wallets, because if you rely on their system, you know that they never do anything for our benefit. And I don't care about your color. We're talking about the top and the bottom. So they're never doing anything for our benefit. When they tell you, I mean, 2020 was a prime example when they were telling everybody, hey, to do this, especially if you were black or brown, they were asking the black and brown people to be the first one on the line. Like, hey, come and get what we got for you, knowing that they didn't have our best interests.
Yeah.
And that's the case here. They're gonna make it so easy. They're gonna lure everybody in. But personally, you want to have your own wallet. You just need to have a plan B and a plan C.
All right. So here's a question. I have a credit union. Can I get T-bills from my credit union?
That's a good question. You would have to ask your credit union. I know the bigger banks, yes. I don't know about credit unions per se.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that might be a case-by-case basis.
Okay. Here's another question. Who are the creators of Wise and what ethnicity are they? Well, we know they're white, right? But anyway, go ahead.
I don't know, but if you're going outside the continent, I use Wise, but they mention either setting up a Wise, a SoFi, or a Chime account. Those 3 accounts, try to have one of those in place. Chime,
Okay,
SoFi, or Wise. I like Wise. Wise is pretty simple.
All right, here's another one. Do you have a spreadsheet template to track crypto and other digital assets?
I do. So, I'll just show you this. So, let me see if I still have it here on my site. And by the way, I have this free promo for the remainder of the month. Just put your name and email. It's about a 60-minute crypto, show talks about what is crypto, meme coins, wallets and security, buying and selling, common mistakes, and how to evaluate a token. But if you come down towards the bottom, let me see if I still have it here. No, I don't have it here. I have to add it back. But I basically had here a course where it comes with 2 Excel sheets of how to track your money. But if you're a part of the exclusive membership, then it's there. So as an example, I'm gonna just go to the dashboard. So when people sign in, and go to collections, and you come down here to video on demand. So these are videos that you can watch and learn about crypto at your leisure. And here where it says swing trading strategies, so here there is a link to 2 Excel files that I've helped my members to be able to track their spread. So, and that looks like this. I'll just show you this real quick. Google Sheets. Okay, so here is an example of one of the sheets that I provide. So with this sheet, you're able to put in the crypto that you own, the amount that you own, and the price that you paid for it, and also where it lives, so that if you have a lot of crypto, you remember where you kept it, because you may remember that it's on Coinbase today, but 2 years from now, you may say, or 6 months from now, you just don't remember. So here, let's say you bought today and the fair and greed is at 8. So you would indicate that you bought it at fair and greed at 8. So you change this to 8. And now, let's say 3 months from now, the fair and greed is up at 60. So if it's at 60, you know that these cryptos have raised in value. So what you'll do is you'll come to the right-hand side, the greed entry, you'll take these amounts. So for instance, you'll take the same ones that you had 100 of XRP, 100 of XLM, 100 of SUI, you bring them over here and you change the price. So when you bought them, you paid $2.25, 22 cents, and $1.25. Now they're worth $4.50, 32 cents, and $4. So you're able to see that your initial investment of $372 is now worth $882. So you might say to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm up $500. But the truth is, you're really only up, so you're up $510. You're up $275 on one crypto. You're up $225 in another, but you're only up $10 in XLM. So by having it broken down this way, you can actually see which cryptos you're up, as opposed to saying, okay, I'm up 500, let me just take my money. Because right now, let's say, XLM, you bought it at $22 and now it's, at 20, you bought it at 22 cents and now it's at 20 cents. Technically, you're up $498, but you're still in the negative with XLM. So with this sheet, I have all of the formulas in place, and it just helps you to guide you on what you own. Because for me, what I learned is once you start having a lot of crypto, if you don't really have a plan or have this stuff broken down, you just might make mistakes. And again, the whole reason why I wanted to do this and I'm doing this is because 4 years ago, I had like 100 grand in crypto, and I don't have that much now, but I just made a lot of mistakes because I didn't have someone to go to, and I treated it like monopoly money. A buddy of mine called me and he said, hey, Fast Nickel, we can buy this thing for $4,000. I had the money. I was just spending it like it was monopoly money. I didn't value it the way I do now. And so that's the whole purpose of why I'm trying to help others, including myself, because we know that there's a shift coming and there's a wealth transfer coming. Those that know it's coming, I'm helping them to prepare. We don't want to be the 5 versions that didn't prepare and now you're scrambling. So that's...
So when you say you treated it as monopoly money, can you explain that?
Sure. So it's like if you've ever gone to the casino, they purposely give you chips because when those chips are in front of you, you don't value them the same way you do dollars. So you may have a lot of chips. You may have $1,000 worth of chips in front of you, but you just for some reason see it differently than you see $1,000 in cash. So you're spending it in a way that you don't really realize what you have.
Okay, so you basically you didn't cherish it like you would $1,000 in your hand.
Correct. This is why people laugh at me whenever I get cash, when I put it in my wallet, I always face all the bills the same way. And the reason people have asked me, why do I do that? And I said, because if you don't respect your money won't respect you. You'll quickly lose it if you don't respect it.
So what do you do differently today to respect your crypto?
I make sure to keep it off exchanges. It's, the last 6 months, I'm not gonna lie, it's been hard because we've seen more negative, we've seen more drop in price than we've seen up in value. So
Yeah,
the key
definitely.
is the key is not to pay
I
attention.
lost about $3,000.
Yeah, as long as you don't sell, you'll be okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's tough. Listen, I'm not gonna lie, it's been tough. I've seen
Yeah.
my portfolio plummet, but as long
Yep.
as you don't sell, you'll be okay. And
Yeah,
this is
because
what,
we know what the end goal is, right? So
right. We know what the end goal is. If the end goal wasn't what it is, they wouldn't be talking about tokenization and what the plan is.
yeah.
They really want, they do everything based on emotion. So they do this on purpose to get you to emotionally, and I'm going to segue into this because me and Brother Jacob were talking. The reason why everything right now is about Trump and him being in these files, because they know we are polarized. They know that all they got to do is mention his name and you'll forget about all the atrocities because you're so wrapped up in him.
And see, the thing is, to me, with the atrocities, is a bigger agenda afoot. Like I was saying earlier, they wouldn't let this information out to cause disruption, right? Unless they wanted disruption. And I think we're coming for the final change because we're going into the new system, what they call the Great Reset, whatever you want to call it, the New Order, the beast system, all that.
Right.
So.
Now, one thing I did, I did it last week, and Brother Jacoby, you asked me this. You asked me this maybe close to a year ago, and time has flown. You asked me about World Liberty Finance, and I wasn't a big proponent at the time, but I'll tell you, with a lot of my coins that basically crashed, with some of them, I took about $200 and I converted it all into World Liberty because World Liberty was going for about 10 cents. It had dropped a lot. And I just feel as though with some of these coins, I'm not telling anyone to sell, but sometimes you have to reevaluate what you have. And you might have to say, you know what, I'm going to just take the loss and I'm going to take the money from a coin and reinvest it into a different coin because the pricing is resetting.
Yeah, my concern is that since it's owned by the Trumps, that when he when he goes before the new Nuremberg, all that's gonna disappear. Because he could go before the Nuremberg trial, right? Some form of it in the future.
Well, and that could be true. A crypto that I wasn't a big fan. I am now is Flare. So Flare is less than a penny. And if you believe in XRP, I believe you should take advantage of Flare because when it comes to Flare, you cannot stake Flare unless you have a minimum of 50,000. So at the price that it's at now, it might hurt a little bit, but I would advise getting at minimum of 50,000, because if you, like I said, if you believe in XRP, Flare is going to give Bitcoin, XLM, and a lot of these other cryptos that you cannot currently stake, you're going to be able to stake, which is going to make the value of Flare pretty valuable.
Does Flare have their own wallet?
So they don't have their own wallet, but we've been using the Bifrost wallet, which is a great wallet.
Okay.
It is a cold, I mean, it is a hot wallet, but here's the difference. So as you know, if you stake and you have your coins on wallets, when you go to stake, the coins remove off of your wallet while they're staking. And the problem with that is, God forbid, the company goes under, your cryptos are gone. Now, the beauty of Flare and Bifrost, all your crypto, even if you're staking them, they still live on your Bifrost wallet, and you can see that. And so all of my members, and any of them that are in the chat, they can tell you, we've gone over that on multiple occasions, and I show all my members how, in real time. I always tell them I'm the guinea pig. So I do everything in real time to show them, so that they are not doing things blindly.
So I can't put my Flare on a cold wallet.
You can do that, but if you want to take advantage of the staking and some of the other thing that they're doing, you would want to use the Bifrost wallet. So as an example, I have a majority of my XRP on a cold wallet, but I have some of it that I moved over to the Bifrost wallet, and I eventually might move all of it to the Bifrost wallet, because I can now make money with my XRP, whereas before you couldn't.
All right, so here's the final question right here. Is it not showing up? Hold on. Okay, there we go. Can crypto be used for SoFi or Wise?
No, not at the moment. I mean, I can't speak for SoFi, but I know for Wise, no.
Okay, all right. So anything else, Brother Nickel? Fast Nickel?
There's nothing from a crypto point of view. If you want to talk about anything else, that's fine by me. If you wanted to bring anybody on, or if you want to call it a day, that's fine too.
Yeah, I think we could call it a day. Unless you have some input on how you think things, and like for instance, I guess this question here, based upon the loss in the market, the crypto market, a lot of people, usually get scared. Me, I've been holding long term, so it doesn't bother me, because I have a plan and end goal in mind that, whether or not it rise or fall means nothing to me, because I believe it's gonna, in the end, gonna be worth something. So what's your comment on that?
I agree. So you hit it on the head. Have a plan and an end game. And whatever you do in life, whether it's buying a house, if you're saving up money, you might say to yourself, okay, I'm saving it to buy a house. So the end game is to buy a house. So whatever we're doing, you should have some type of an end game of what you want to achieve, whether it be to go to the continent, buy a house here in America, whatever, or move from a different state, whatever it is you're doing, you should have a plan and an end game involved. And life insurance is a big key that I was sharing with my members 2 weeks ago, not even realizing how valuable life insurance is, and because the rich and wealthy all use life insurance as a benefit. And as I started doing some research, I started to learn more and more how valuable life insurance is, not just as something to have if a loved one passes away. But just think about it.
Yeah.
Let's say,
But you mean more so whole life, right?
yeah, whole life. And now here's the beauty with a whole life policy. So let's say you have a $50,000 or $100,000 policy, and you had $10,000 in cash. What you can do is take that money and prepay that whole life. So now you've just taken 10 grand, put it into that whole life, and now you can borrow against it. And so by doing so, it's non-taxable.
Yeah.
So
And
there's
I
a
think
lot
we
of
talked
things you
about
can do.
yeah, and I think we talked about this before about them putting it in an irrevocable trust, right? That's something else we
That
don't
too,
know
yes.
about.
Putting
Yeah.
it in an irrevocable trust, you can dictate how that money is used and by who.
Yeah, there's a lot of pieces to trying to make it in this system. They make it very hard.
They do.
So anything else, Brother Fast Nickel?
The only thing I wanted to mention that myself and Coco G, we are in the process of getting licensed so that we can officially call ourselves financial advisors. So our goal is to help our people and give you direction so that you can make educated decisions.
So what can a financial advisor do?
We can help you with life and health insurance. We can help you with your investments.
So like I could give you access to an account and you can invest it for me?
That I'm not sure of.
Okay.
I think that's a matter of trust. I would say yes, but I'll find out more. I've never thought about that. But the key is
Yeah.
to help you, talking about what you have in terms of finance, what you want to do, where you want to get to, and putting a plan together to help make sure that you get there.
Yeah, because a lot of banks today, like Chase and stuff, they have financial planners, right? And those
Correct.
financial planners literally invest your money for you. So I was just curious if it goes to that level or something less.
That's a question I have to ask. I've never thought about that, but that's a great question.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right, Brother Fast Nickel, can you paste your link in the chat so
Sure.
everyone can find you?
Sure. Let me do that right now. And again, Brother Yacoba, thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome anytime.
Okay, I just
All
put
right.
it in the chat. And again, if you go to my page, you can just put your name and email to get a quick 60-minute tutorial. Learn it at your leisure. But the bottom line is, whether it be me or anyone else, we know where they're going with this system. So you don't want to be that person that perishes for lack of knowledge, especially when the knowledge is here for you and you didn't want to take the time to learn it.
Yeah, and understand that the Bible says my people perish for lack of knowledge. And you saw that during the last 5 years what happened, and it's the same with this. Just like you tell people about Yeshua, people don't believe that he's the Messiah or something, or that he's divine, that he's God in human flesh, right? A lot of people going to perish for lack of knowledge. Same thing here, right? Economic wise, if you don't position yourself to weather this change, this what they call the Great Reset, you're going to suffer, right? And so, you got to make a plan for anything, right?
Correct.
If you're going to be running away from a hurricane, right, you got to make sure you have your bags packed, you have some money in your account, your car is running, right? Where you're going to go, you got to know, hey, you're going to run out of this state and go into the next state, right? You got to have plans for any kind of situation, and it's the same here. And most people are going to be caught unawares. Most people are going to be caught like in the Katrina floods, right? They're going to be caught.
Right.
And you can't help everybody. But for those who listen, right, there's little stuff you can do, right? a little is better than nothing. You know what I'm saying? So,
and and to that point, this is why, for those, I think everybody in the chat is familiar with Quest to Unite Africa, Q2A.org. Q2A is doing a lot to try to help our people, and there's things that other organizations are doing that you'll find out more soon to help our people. But the truth is, we have to be more community-based and help each other, because they're not really putting things in place to help us. And when they see us trying to help each other, they just change the goalposts or change the law, as you were saying earlier.
Yeah, that is something they always do, right?
Yep.
It's their method of operation. So, all right, Brother Fast Nickel, thanks for coming on. And family, go over there to Brother Fast Nickel's learncrypto101.info and send him an email. He put his email link out there as well. All right, thanks, Brother Fast Nickel. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and say hello to your brother.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, fam. So make sure to go over there to learncrypto101.info. Also, if you want to support this ministry, it's a learning ministry, right? Biblical and everything, right? So we cover all topics. If you want to support us, you can give us a like, share, subscribe. You can also support us through Cash App, $TOTW7101. You can also support us by becoming a patron member, right? You can also go to tailministries.com and click on the donations tab. And so we'll see how things go in the future, fam. Love y'all with the love of the Messiah. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending. Well, family, the wait is over. The moment has arrived where truth emerges triumphant from the shadows of history. Introducing the true Jerusalem, the lost kingdoms of the Israelites, the groundbreaking work by me, Jacoby Vale, a journey into the past that reshapes the future. I cut through centuries of misconceptions with piercing clarity. This book delivers a compelling case packed with evidence that commands attention and gonna get some respect. Come with me for a second, family, and discover how these thrilling civilizations flourished, protected by towering highlands and sustained by advanced engineering. Some have asked, where is Jerusalem? Is it the land in the Middle East? I say no. It is in the highlands of Ethiopia. With hours of groundbreaking research, this book brings in a new revelation, and it will transform your understanding of African history and its connections to the ancient world. It's going to remove from your mind the conditioning by the Romans of what has really happened to our past. Come with me, family, to the Ethiopian highlands and find out why this is our land, why things have been hidden and obfuscated for centuries. We are royalty, children of the Most High. What kind of land do you expect us to have? Dried up dirt in the Middle East, or land flowing with rivers, a land full of beautiful animals flowing with milk and honey? Don't miss out on this monumental unveiling. Grab your copy today and stand on the side of truth. Visit Amazon.com or www.tailministries.com to purchase your book and join Jacoby Vale's teachings on Tail Ministries. Family, your journey to hidden history has now begun. So family, get your copy of True Jerusalem, the Lost Kingdoms of the Israelites today. Journey to the heart of Africa, where history and legend converge to reveal the forgotten kingdoms of the Israelites and the true location of Jerusalem.